when you're making the comics, you're essentially alone most of the time. But you walk into those conventions and you meet. My convention season hasn't started yet. It starts in a couple weeks with Free Comics Book Day, but seeing all that, we call it the con family, seeing the con family up here in the New England area every year, and just seeing what everybody's working on. And I love like just a comic based convention where you can walk around, see what everybody's working on, find some new books. I love reading other indie creators' books. And I love the whole thing. And I know even my wife's an artist as well. And when we come back from a show, she's so like hopped up on inspiration. She wants to jump right in and start drawing stuff. And I feel it too, and so I love this medium. And it's like, it's funny too. Like, you always hear besides the community stuff, there's always that other side where it's like comics will break your heart. That famous Jack Kirby quote.
I have a t-shirt that says that. I wear that to every convention. It's
do you really?
Yeah.
And I've experienced a little bit of that. There was, I think maybe like before I started my own convention, like in 2015, I was having that like, oh man, these shows are not for me anymore. They're hardly about comics, blah, blah, blah. But then I just went back to my love of comics, and now things are different. And like, I have a fun time no matter what show I'm at, and no matter what kind of audience or what kind of show it is. I always can talk to people, and it's a mindset. If anything, it's a mindset,
So that's a Jack Kirby quote.
It is a Jack Kirby quote.
So what do you mean by that? You think it was something?
I think, because as a creator, there's a lot of there's a lot of up and downs, and sometimes those downs can really.
Oh, geez.
Really, I thought that was your arm. I thought you were.
Speaking of El Gato Prince.
Yeah, right. But I always like, there's, when you're down, it's sometimes hard to get out of it, and a lot of us are artists, and so we have like a lot of emotional attachment to the comics industry and things like that.
How bad he was treated with like all of his creations kind of getting stripped from him and not getting his artwork back, and like all the legal battles he had to get to. Like that dude had to grind day in and day out and didn't get his.
He was very introverted too, and
and I think the saddest thing about Kirby is he never got to see the success of his stuff the way Stan Lee did. Like I really wish Jack had lived as long as Stan Lee, because he probably wouldn't even be able to believe like the stuff they did with the Marvel universe.
He probably wouldn't have volunteered to be honored like Stan Lee was, and all these like little like movies that he's been in. Like
he has a cameo in the Hulk TV show somewhere.
Yeah, he was doing sketches. Yeah, like
he's doing sketches in one of the episodes.
Wasn't the TV movie, right, with Thor and all that?
No, if you go on Wikipedia, you probably can find out which episode it is, but he's in it. And he's one of those creators. When I first started in comics, not to get into a Jack Kirby thing, but I didn't get Kirby.
That too.
What's that?
I could roller coaster off of Kirby stuff for a long time too. Yeah.
Well, he's one of those guys I didn't understand until later in my comic career. Because
talk about that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I grew up with I grew up in the 90s Image rock and roll era with McFarlane, Liefeld, and all that stuff. And I looked at Kirby stuff at the time. I'm like, why is everybody going, why does everyone love this guy?
Didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. But now I can't get enough of his artwork. Like
because he drew outside the box, literally.
Yeah, no, his artwork is awesome. And I can't, it's just, the way he drew action, the way he drew characters, and the amount of characters he created is unbelievable. I mean, it's staggering. Like, I don't think there'll ever be a comic creator like him ever again,
No, Kirby was top tier, where he's like, you're not seeing violence, you're seeing action. Like there's literal movement on the page, and like the craziest, most amazing poses that made them all larger than life with these grander, hand gestures and everything. Like super awesome.
Like they always the character going like this or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And actually Brandon DePillis made this like make sense for me the most when I got to interview him on Inspired Ink, and he was telling me that he starts with his drawings like with whatever's the most forefront first. So if it's like the hand reaching out, he goes there and then draws backwards. And ever since I started doing that, like Kirby's drawings make sense to me, like constructing that anatomy, like all makes sense. And it just seems so much more bombastic, the more you get to analyze and really see the breakdown behind it. But yeah, DePillis is the one that like kind of pointed that out to me. And I always just
That's
admired
awesome.
that now.
Yeah,
well,
no.
You look at what we even talked about it earlier with Gene Simmons and Black Bolt, right? Like that pose stuck with a young Gene Simmons so much that's what he adopted into his display for his performance.
Dude, yeah for reals.
I mean, like the amount of inspiration coming from that guy and the amount of output. Did you ever hear how much output Jack Kirby had like in a day? It's like unbelievable the amount of artwork he was putting out.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, not only did I'm sure he want to, but like he had to. Like, he had to feed his family off of that. He wasn't making money off of comics,
right?
And that's why it's so heartbreaking. Is that like this dude went to like, was it a coroner's grave or something? What's it called? Where it's like unmarked and there was nothing there for a bit.
Yeah,
like
that called. I forget. It's like
the name, something
of it.
like that. Yeah, and it's just like this dude. Stan Lee is a household name when like Jack Kirby should really be. It should be Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, not to like totally discredit Stan.
Right.
Stan deserves way more credit than Bill. Not Bill Finger. Bob Kane. Yeah, Bob Kane. That's for sure. But like
he
Bill
brought everything
Finger,
to life.
Yeah.
Well, it was always like you always hear those arguments, Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, and it's like the Beatles. It's like they're talented separately. But when they come together, it was like that magic that made them more than what they could have been separately. You know what I mean?
Stan Lee was a voice that Jack Kirby wasn't. You know what I mean? He spoke volumes in his artwork, but Stan Lee was his voice. Because he was very shy and like introverted and everything. So he was his voice box.
That's what I was thinking.
Potter's Grave. Potter's Grave. Yeah.
Potter's Field.
Yeah. It's like the pro wrestlers that are really good in the ring, but they're not good on the mic, so they have to give them a manager who's the mouthpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's almost exactly what it is. Like Stan Lee was more the showman, and Jack Kirby was more the craftsman.
Honestly.
But their magic together is what really made Marvel pop. I could talk about this for
100%.
days.
Speaking.
Vigilante, hardcore. I work too hard, becoming hip-hop Dexter, raps Hannibal Lecter. Watch what comes out your mouth. Vigilante, very M-A-T. My mental